A two times Viral Bundles System student, actually, Michelle Lewis. And this one is a toolkit in the visibility and the branding space. So I'm so excited for you to share her story. Michelle, how about you start by telling everyone a little bit more about yourself and your story and how you got here?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to talk about how I have implemented Katya's system into my business and how beneficial it's been for me. So, I work in the visibility and publicity space. I cover things pretty much everything in terms of your visual presence. So, for me, I was really struggling because I had my larger products, I had my program, I had a couple of courses, but it was really hard to get people from opt-in to sale. So like you'll hear her talk about, it's really challenging if you just have opt-ins. So I knew I had watched her implement the system and I thought this is really something I want to learn, which is why I took VBS. And that is what led me to creating the podcast pitch kit and more recently the brand color kit. And it has been so crucial to my success. It has helped me so much where now people are so much quicker to buy. I usually put this right after the opt-in. Specifically, it converts much higher and then people are warmed up to convert to my bigger products. So it's been amazing and it's really helped me differentiate myself in the space.
I'm excited to dive into the details of it all. Can you tell me a little bit about what was your initial motivation for creating your first ever low ticket offer like this?
Honestly, it was desperation. I was so frustrated with getting people into my program and I felt like it was so difficult to make that sale and I found myself, to be honest, like beating myself up and feeling like there was something wrong with me. Just because I'd taken all the things, I'd taken all the courses and programs and mentorships, and I was still struggling. And so this was kind of like a last ditch effort for me to be able to at least meet my needs with income in terms of not having to wait weeks between making bigger sales. So that's why I started it. And then when I was able to, through your system, really differentiate, like, okay, here's one thing I think people really need, which was the podcast pitching. And you helped me strategize, okay, how do we put this into a bundle to then be able to put all that together? And I mean, what's really cool is that now I have friends or people that have been on my show or I've been on their show and they're still buying it and they're able to get their press page up and running that day and start pitching to shows. Like that's what's so cool about it. So that's initially why I dove into the system and I'm so glad that I did.
I actually didn't know that that was where you were at the time.
Mhm.
Although I'm not surprised because, to be completely honest, one of the things about our industry is that over the last few years, there's been such an influx of new people coming in with their courses and membership. It's just become a little bit harder to differentiate and a little bit harder to enroll than it was maybe back in, I don't know, 2014 or something. So
I agree.
you, yeah, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, so when you started, when you got through it, when you were like, okay, I'm gonna dive in, walk me through your experience of that initial um starting the process and then getting to the place where you actually come up with the idea, and what kind of things did you consider for it to fit your business model and so on. What was your strategy for deciding what you're going to create?
Yeah, you really helped me with that because I think sometimes I hold on to, my brand is called Visibility Vixen. And sometimes I hold on to the word visibility because when I started in the industry in 2015, no one said the word ever. So that was my differentiator. Well, nowadays, that could not be any lesser of a differentiator. So it was helpful for me when you said, okay, it needs to be more specific for me to figure out, okay, there's so many different things that can encapsulate visibility, but what are things I'm really good at? And at the time, I had a couple clients I was pitching on podcasts, and I'm really good at it. And I've been on, I don't know, 100 myself. And so I thought, well, there's a lot that people don't know. And I get terrible pitches in my inbox every day for my show. So what if I was able to simplify this for someone else? And I'm big on names, and I remember being a bit stuck on the name and asking you about it. And you were like, wait a second, no, what if you call it? And you gave me like three different options. And one of them was Podcast Pitch Kit. And I fell in love with it. And I knew that that was going to be my differentiator. And so I remember sharing it online, getting a lot of interest, I didn't get 100 pre-sales, but I think it was like 60. And so I felt really comfortable with that. And so I just went for it. And then soon after, and I know you went down this path too, but soon after, I remember talking to AppSumo and them saying, well, why don't you list this on our platform? And that worked out really well. So it just kind of snowballed from there.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that in a second as well, because that's a really fun story. So for you, you looked at your business that it was this big pie, and then there was one part of that pie that was podcasting, because visibility is visibility everywhere, but podcast was one subsection of visibility, and you took that because that was something that your audience was looking for. They love speaking on podcasts and they love being interviewed. So
Exactly.
if you're watching this and you're like, I don't know what to create, I always like to tell people that to think about your bundle as your slice of the big pizza, the pizza being your business. And that's exactly what you did. So
Yes.
you said that you had 60 sales. Can you talk me through your strategy of how you got those first 60 sales? What did you do?
So my biggest challenge, and for the people out there that are my personality type, they'll have the same one. I have a really hard time heavy selling on social media. It's not super easy for me. It's just kind of sometimes feels gross for me. So that was probably my hardest part. I'm so glad, like if you guys take VBS, she'll give you the scripts. And so what I did is I kind of went through and picked and chose what felt most authentic for me, and then put it in my own language, and I would share. I didn't do it every single day because that felt a little too heavy for me, but I did do it like 3 times a week. And specifically for me, I focused more on my existing email list, especially the people that had not bought previously from me and were just hanging, as a subscriber. And so I did that, I think, for about 2 weeks. And that's what really helped me pre-sell. And then once I launched, I had it in the PS of every newsletter and they kept buying.
Amazing. Do you remember at the time how big was your email list just before you launched it?
Yeah, it was about 2000, I want to say. So it wasn't super big. I cleaned it up so much, which I'm glad I did. And now I think I'm at 6,500. So
Oh wow. So you've
it's
tripled your
grown.
list
Mhm.
since you launched the podcast pitch kit, which is
Yes.
amazing. Do you have any idea what, well, actually we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a second. So because I do know the answer, so let's not reveal it. Um so you did a pre-sale,
Mhm.
and then you mostly targeted your email list and did a couple posts on Facebook and leveraged your existing audience. Was there anything that you learned about, just anything you learned in that process that you've taken now going forward as well?
What I really enjoyed doing was kind of hunting down the people that had commented their interest and hitting them with questions of what would make the pitch kit most successful. And that gave me a lot of great ideas where people were like, well, I wish I could kind of track my progress. And that led me to creating the podcast pitch tracking spreadsheet, which so many people I know in the industry use now in order to calculate their booking rate when they're pitching. So that was really cool. And knowing like, okay, well, how do I share once the episode's out? How do I do this? How do I build the pitch? And so I think that was a really valuable lesson for me for when I then created the brand color kit. I knew exactly what to do. I knew the system to follow, and I knew what to put inside the kit to make it successful.
That's really good. So you had the chance to really ask your audience what to create and get to create something that they would really enjoy. So let's talk about the podcast pitch kit. As a What was your funnel like? Like, talk me through the price of it. Did you have a bump? Did you have an upsell? How did you structure the actual funnel?
Yes, this was helpful for me, especially with your mentorship. to be able to understand how to capitalize on that funnel. And so I started with the podcast pitch kit, which was 27. And then I had a podcast weekly upsell. So that was actually a list of shows with all the information completed beforehand so they could just pitch to the ones that were most applicable. And that was a $20 a month. But what I found after a couple months is that so many people were lapsing on payments and I hated it that I actually changed it to a one-time bump of, it was either 97 or 197. I can't remember. I think it was 97. And so then I noticed that actually the conversion was higher. It was less maintenance. It was just a lot easier. So that's what I decided to do. And then from there, I sold into my Visibility Lounge program.
So here's an example of actually you doing the bundle bump ratio a little bit differently, because usually I always say have the bump be same or lower price than the bundle, but you actually had one that was priced at $97. And I know you've kept it, so it must work for you really well. So
Yeah.
I think this is a really good lesson of, as you go through the system, follow it as it is and don't be afraid to experiment, because you never know, might actually get better results. I would also be curious for you to test it as an upsell instead, because I think for $97, some people would want to read a little bit more than just like the extra little thing. I'd be very curious for you to try Pitch Kit, upsell to your other kit that you share in a second, and then upsell to the podcast weekly too.
Yeah, I could definitely try that. Mm-hmm.
Or the opposite, with the new kit, you put the other one, vice versa. Definitely something you could always try. I always come up with the ideas. So
Mm-hmm.
how many podcast pitch kits have you actually sold since you've launched it?
What did I tell you? I think I'm up to 500.
So 500 pitch kits, just the pitch kits.
Just the pitch kit. And I have about 100 podcasts weekly. I did have an upsell kind of within the pitch kit of my press page package, and I've had about 50 of those. So yeah, for me, it's done really well.
That's amazing. And does that include your AppSumo sales as well, or are these separate? Because I know
No,
that you
these are
listed
separate.
Let's talk about that actually. So you decided to list your bundle on AppSumo with
Mhm.
them. How was that for you? Putting it on there, how has that been?
It was well, first of all, the process was very hard because this was before they streamlined everything. This was before you could do the marketplace. It was just a different application process. So it took me a while to figure out how to get the coupon codes done in a good way through the Kajabi system. So that was interesting. But it was a really great opportunity. No one had really done it. And I thought, why not try it? And I think this would be really interesting. It did well, but what I have to tell you is it's a different audience. So I was not prepared for the negative feedback. I know you've probably experienced that as well. Some people were just psycho. And when I launched it, I did not have the option. And I think you got the option when you listed yours, but I didn't have the option of a no refund situation. So I had a lot of people that were claiming it and then getting refunded through AppSumo. So I actually had to take the stats of all that and send it into AppSumo so they would toggle it to non-refundable. So there were a lot of great pros. It brought in some great people that I've been able to connect with who have bought into my lounge program or my color course. But I do think you have to be ready for the fact that a lot of them are going to be, low cost hunter, tire kicker kind of people. So I think you just have to be ready for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally hear you. And even then, it's still sometimes better than those that actually just download everything for free, because those can be even more interesting.
Absolutely.
But it's a good opportunity to know that you can list your product on other platforms if it's suitable. I know a lot of our students put their bundles on Etsy. I know some put them on Creative Market. I know some put them on different marketplaces. So there's so many opportunities to attract clients, and they're free customers
Smart.
for you.
Yeah, why not just try? Like there's nothing wrong with trying and having some
Yeah.
ingenuity.
Exactly, exactly. All right. So this was the podcast pitch kit, and you did that the first time. And
Yes.
then you later on you were like, well, this process works so great. I'm going to do it with my next color kit whenever you did your rebrand kind of thing. Do you want to walk us through what happened? You did a rebrand, you did a whole bunch of things, and then what happened with there?
Absolutely. So, as we know, the visibility thing, I really needed to figure out. I knew how to differentiate myself in the market. And so, the one thing that I do that's a bit different from other people in the industry is I study color psychology, specifically in branding and how it relates in film, in design, in the body, pretty much every way that it can relate. And so, I thought, okay, this is going, and I had had my color quiz opt in for years, and that did really well. So, I knew, okay, I have a firm foundation. I want to create something that people can start understanding the world of color psychology, specifically with branding and sales in a small little package, hence the brand color kit. So I knew that that was going to then start to be more of the face of my brand, especially if you go to my website. And I knew it was going to focus specifically on color psychology. So I wanted to take people on a journey, teach them the basics of color psychology, what the psychological primaries are, and to just kind of start toying with their brand colors in a brand palette. So I put all that into the kit. I listed it at the same price at $27. I have that upsell into my color course, and I've literally just put kind of the finishing touches on that funnel. But I was able to actually include this bundle in a bunch of different places in kind of like a PR kickoff in January. And it did really, really well. So I actually gifted it as bonuses wherever I spoke and for certain viral bundle giveaways. And that has brought me up to, I think it's today, 914 that have enrolled. And they have been crazy active inside of the product in Kajabi with their comments. And I have gotten, now that I've launched the color course, I've had, I think, 35 upsell already. So it's been really a great experience for me.
Oh, wow. So you basically, what you've done is you decided, right, let's try to use this as a giveaway so that instead of it being a lead magnet, a free lead magnet, instead it's actually a paid product that they get to win, which gives them a little bit more, it gives them a little bit more ownership of actually using it rather than just a free download. And from that, you have found that you are actually getting a ton of upsells into the color course. What price point is your color course at?
It's at $497.
Oh, that's amazing. So you've gotten 35 people already grab that, and you're just literally just finding different giveaways where you can share it. And you have your podcast pitch kit, which is another entry place. So you have now merged the two.
Yes.
What would you say was the difference in the two different launches? Like what kind of things did you learn from one and the other?
A lot less fear my second time. A lot. I don't know. I think both were really great experiences. I think I had more clarity this time on what I wanted the funnel to look like. So that's great. You know, when you're first going through it, it can be a little confusing and a little like, okay, where do I stick like biblically to the plan and where do I take liberties? And now I feel a little bit more flowy with it. But I think that overall they were both really good experiences. And I think maybe I was a little bit more cloak and dagger with the second launch just because I was getting a couple other things figured out, but I figured out a way to make it really successful. So I think, you know, learning the system then gives you the basic knowledge that you need in order to replicate it for the different pieces you need in your business. And I had a really great time both times, but yeah, probably a little less stress the second time.
It's like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I've done this before.
Exactly.
um, yeah. What's been your favorite part of it all?
The reason why I liked you when I first started following you, which was right before I actually met you in San Diego, was because from what I'd seen of you online, and this is before you launched the system, you were always pushing industry standard. You were always breaking rules and being different. And I was really attracted to that because I tend to do things opposite of most people that I know and have studied under. And so that really attracted me to this system because it was so different. And I appreciated watching you go through similar struggles, especially with trademark infringement. And that's happened to me so many times, and seeing your heart behind things. And I just never felt like I was being manipulated or coerced or, threatened, or any of the things that you can tend to feel from industry leaders. And I appreciated that about you, which made me then trust you and try the system and go all in, and then be able to find that confidence in replicating it. And it just felt really in alignment to me.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thanks for saying that. I mean,
Yeah.
you and I think we share very similar values in terms of how to do business, how to do life. So it kind of makes it really easy.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what would you say, what kind of person, like I'll ask you at the end who would benefit from this and from business perspective, but what kind
Mhm.
of person do you see really getting the most of this kind of experience?
I think a self-starter, someone who isn't afraid to put in some hours. It's going to take you in the front end, a certain set amount of hours that'll depend on your workflow speed, to then be able to set up all the things to take then a step back. I think if you really don't like putting in work and effort and kind of pushing yourself and what you can offer a little bit and niching down, it's not going to be very fun for you. But if you do have that ingenuity streak, if you like being creative, if you don't mind, uh, when you can see the steps in place, implementing them for yourself, I think you'll really, really appreciate the program. And I think if you've been lacking a bit of clarity on your business structure, this is also going to be really helpful, because it's going to simplify how people ascend into your services versus just trying to like throw spaghetti against the wall and hope that they upsell. So I think if those are some
Yeah.
things that you've been looking for and you've been missing, that'll be really helpful for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I meet online who have a ton of different offers that are really disjointed. And on
Mhm.
their own, they make sense. But then when you put them together, it's like, what is this business? And yeah, VBS is actually the very first module actually helps you to get that streamlined and get that really simplified and made into one path so that you can actually scale. Because otherwise, it's if you have too many paths, you're ultimately running two different businesses, and that's just going to burn you out unless you have a huge team that can help you do that.
And I
um
honestly think that that was what was responsible for me breaking apart my business and restructuring it to start with color, because I learned that process and then I looked at things and went, okay, this over here, like, even though I love the pitch kit and I love Podcast Weekly, it isn't enough of a differentiator to get people into the lounge program. And that helped me then go, okay, I need to start with color, go into the color program, and then go into the lounge program. And that is the flow that's finally been working. So I think it's really advantageous, not just on a mini scale, but like on a huge scale of looking at your business
yeah,
holistically.
absolutely. Let me ask you this question. You're a branding expert and you believe in the power of branding, brand loyalty. What do you think VBS does for somebody's brand?
Well, first of all, I think you set a good example. I think especially when you started with the viral content templates and you invested in people that were going to work on your brand and the visuals of the templates, that was a really smart move. And I remember you moving into magenta and purple, and that was so exciting for me, knowing what those mean and psychologically what that would do in your marketing. And magenta is all about leading a revolution, and purple is all about building relationships and connecting. So that was really cool to see us, to then be in the program and be able to trust what you were doing. And so I think it really
You mean
helps
those
people.
two?
Yes, the two that are right there on your screen. So that was really fun for me, just being a nerd. And then being inside the program, I think being able to look at things like we talked about in that holistic level, that then really helps you crystallize your messaging to then be able to choose your brand colors with clarity and confidence. So I think that it is definitely a starter step on the road to color psychology to start really making your brand impact people, because we know that so much of a sale comes from the visuals. And that's proven again and again with statistics of a brand. So if you can get the message right, you can get the name right, for your bundle, and then look at the potential of the colors you can combine, it can really become a no-brainer.
I totally hear you. And when you have the foundation, it's much easier to go and shoot for the stars. It's very often we try to shoot for the stars and we can't really have anywhere that we can take off from. And then we find ourselves taking one step forward and then taking another step back and one step forward and another back. It just feels like this constant cycle of never really moving as fast as we know we can. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. I didn't ask you this, but when your students got the color kit and the podcast pitch kit, what kind of results, what kind of feedback did you get? Did that improve brand loyalty? How were people feeling?
Oh yeah, I mean, people love the pitch kit. I get emails all the time of the shows that they've booked, which is just so wonderful to see. And the brand color kit had so much more engagement than I anticipated. I know some people, when they have a Kajabi product, they're like, just turn the comments off. Like, you don't want to go there, but I keep them on. And just people are excited about color. They're excited to explore it even when they have no idea. So I have people that have established six-figure brands, and I have people who are just starting out, and they're both equally excited to learn about color. So they love it. They are obsessive in the most wonderful way to learn those pieces. So as the person that loves to teach it, like, that's what you want to see. You want to see that passion and that heart. So I love every time I get a comment or an email in my inbox to just know that I'm impacting an entrepreneur or two with how much more they can impact other people just by their color. So it's been really affirming for me as the creator, and I just absolutely love it.
Amazing. So you have tripled your list since you launched. It's been about a year and a half since the very first podcast launch. Tripled the list already. Who knows where you will be in the next 12 months or the next 2 years? We'll do an updated case study then.
I'd love to.
To hear the story. If you end up creating a third one, you are one bundle behind Simone, who's created three now. He's launched
I'll
three.
catch up.
But I think you've sold more than him in total. So, I've just been so proud watching you, and you're a great example of what a self-starter looks like, and somebody that really takes action and really isn't afraid to put in the work. If you could tell somebody who's on the fence right now watching this, what would you say to them?
I would actually say take your emotions out of it and look at your business back end and look at the time that you're investing. So if you are a service provider or you do done for you services or coaching or whatever it is, how much time are you spending a week? Is that really benefiting you financially? Are you trading time for money? Is your list stagnant? Are your offers not selling? Are you feeling really frustrated because you're doing all the posting things, but it's not translating to dollars? If you can really look at it from a mental perspective and go, no, I feel like I've hit this plateau and I'm feeling really stuck, then it might be worth it to try something different and to see how it works for you. At the very least, if you've been wanting to dive into Facebook ads, but all you have are opt-ins or all you have are high ticket offers, then you need something in the middle that you can, work with ads. For me personally, Facebook and Instagram didn't work very well for me, but Pinterest and Pinterest ads works really well. You might do well on LinkedIn or whatever, but you need to have that low cost offer to upsell people where you want them to go or to stop leveraging your time for money. So I think if you can make it a more mental decision, that would probably push you over the edge if you're meant to do the program.
Amazing. Well, I've included the color kit in the descriptions. If you guys want to go check that out,
Thank you.
feel free to. You can also just search for Michelle Lewis on social media and you'll be able to find her everywhere. Or Visibility Vixen. She has that cute little background over there. Your background is nicer than mine because it's actually real.
Well, yours
um,
looks pretty damn good, my dear.
well, thank you. I have a darker version of this, like the really dark magenta one,
I
but
know you do, but I like that. I like the
since I'm
lighter.
wearing since I'm wearing the really bright red, like it was kind of going a little bit too much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
get
Yeah.
it.
So there you go. Trying to do my best as a color student. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for joining me and for sharing your story. Do connect with Michelle. There's a lot of people that actually watch this and aren't ready for VBS because they don't have their brand sorted. Go get Michelle stuff to get it sorted and then come to VBS.
I love it.
You
Thank
can get
you.
them ready, please.
Yes, get them all primed for you.
Yeah. All righty, my love. Thank you so much.
Of course.